Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Um, so today, it's gonna be a bit long, the video because I want to talk about a few things before we actually get to the three books that I picked up this week. So, uh, first of all, as you may or may not know, if you haven't heard, that we had an election here in Mexico last Sunday, and the leftist candidate, Andres Manuel López Obrador, won. Uh, Sadly, over in states, the coverage was kind of poor as to why he won, what he's proposing. Some people are comparing him to either Hugo Chavez from Venezuela or the late Hugo Chavez from Venezuela and Maduro, and or Donald Trump, which has nothing to do with any of that. There are quite a few interesting articles that sort of set the record straight out there. There's one I actually shared from Rolling Stone magazine on Twitter. You might want to look me up and or look up the article yourselves. But yeah, I mean, we are all very happy actually voted for him. I voted for him in the past three elections, past two and this one, of course. And some people are angry and mad and think, this is the end of Mexico, but it's still here and it probably will still be here in a year. It's not gonna fall apart. Um, so yeah, but I mean, it was surprising to, I guess, outside of Mexico. Here in Mexico, I don't think it was very surprising that he won. The poll numbers, he was had like over 40% acceptance before the elections. The end tally actually was 53%, a little over to 53%, almost 54, around 53.9 or 50, no, somewhere around, yeah, 53%, let's say. Over 30 million people voted for him. He won in every state except one. His party, which he actually formed officially 4 years ago, took the Congress, the majority of the Congress, both in the Senate and the deputies, the House of Deputies or the House of Representatives, whatever you want to call it. The equivalent would be, the House of Representatives, the lower chamber. He won that as well. His party won that. Won local Congress, a few governorships, a few uh, mayoral seats as well. Those that were, in dispute for the election. Um, and the truth is that happened because, I mean, over 30 million people voted for him. 53% for one candidate is unprecedented in modern Mexico, in sense, the opening to a much more just democracy back in 94. You usually had a three-way split between the three big parties. Um, so it was, so I mean, Peña Nieto won like with like 30% of the vote back in 2000, you know, um, 12. So, very close election. So this is unprecedented for Mexico. We have about 70%, 67% voted, 63, 60, around 63 to 67% of voter turnout, which again is huge. Um, and it's actually, some people might think it's because he's from the left and he's a socialist. And we voted for an ideology, which is not true. This is um, uh, a referendum to the old system that wasn't working. The parties that have covered Mexico have not brought any change. It's the same old thing, um, and it goes to show that the party that's been around since the 1920s for 70 years governed Mexico, most of the 20th century, which was kicked out in 2000, but came out in 2012, has become like the fourth political force in Mexico. They didn't win a single of the elections in the states. They have very few senators and deputies, if you will, in both chambers. They lost everything, and that just proves that most Mexicans just wanted a huge change. The right wing, the Conservative Party, the National Action Party, won a few seats. Still, you know, kind of okay. The PRI has been crippled. AMLO's Andres Manuel Obrador's all party, which he founded back in the 80s, co-founded in the 80s, practically is becoming non-existent. The Democratic Revolutionary Party, uh, which he co-founded and from which he was kicked out uh, several years ago, did not also have enough votes because the party was crippled. Fights within factions inside the party. A lot of people left, and they made a really bad choice. Joining up with the National Action Party. Um, so that's what happened, and uh, there's just so much to talk about to clear up all the the things that are being said that are not true or are misinformed, and which goes into the American mainstream media, which they don't really seem to do their homework and see how what happened here is going to affect the states uh, and its relationship with Mexico. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. The other is Steve Ditko, which we found out yesterday, Friday, that he passed away. I actually shared on Twitter one of my favorite, panels, which I took from this comic here, the reprint from the 100 greatest Marvels of all time, which is a panel from Amazing Spider-Man number 33, which was this full page splash. But it really goes from the whole sequence from here to that big page here, and as or you may not know, I really like I'm a big Steve Ditko fan, and I have a lot of books by him. But if there's one book that would be a holy grail for me, it would be Amazing Spider-Man number 33, because this is like, to me, is like the most masterful pages. I mean, even the cover gives it away, right? It's a tremendous sequence that he goes through, in these pages, right? And to me, this is just my favorite issue of Amazing Spider-Man. I wish I actually owned a copy of it. So yeah, Steve Ditko will be missed. A real master. And to me, Ditko, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange are like the definitive versions of these characters, because every other artist that followed him just went a little too traditional with them, and the imagery by and the design that Ditko brought to those two creations, co-creations, are just to those two characters are just mind blowing, and really nobody could do the great, crazy, fantastic art that Ditko did. So, with that out of the way, let's go to the three books. Of course, I actually got my free copy of Destination, which I haven't finished reading. But I really love the whole behind the scenes stuff that they share. What editors do. The whole this one's one the cover one, how they make a cover for every issue that comes out every month on every book. That was very cool. So yeah. So like I said, three books. So we got here three books. So I'll start with Man of Steel number 6. So finally the miniseries ends. I really enjoyed it. It's got a lot of great moments. It's a great Supergirl story as well. So let's go to various parts. So we actually learned what happened to John and Lois. They're off with Jor-El somewhere in space, having a grand adventure, I guess. Which I would love to actually see a series just focusing on that. It'd be fascinating. The adventures of Lois and John. With Jor-El in space. So we know what happened to them. We get a sort of, at least for the time being, a conclusion to the Rebel Czar story. Again, we get closure, at least for the time being. A closure that was brought in by Supergirl, who decided took it upon herself to send Rebel Czar to the Phantom Zone and getting justice for Krypton and Kandor. Superman sort of wanted answers before justice, and Supergirl just wanted justice, and now she's going to find out the answers that the answers that both Superman and Supergirl need. So it also sets up the new direction for Supergirl as well. Of course, we still have the whole fire thing, which ends with the cliffhanger. So there's a lot of closure for some things. We'll of course continue down the line. There's some stuff that will immediately be looked upon, will be followed on in the regular books. So it's a very sad. So of course you actually learn why he's back to wearing his old suit, because he gave Lois the one he was currently wearing. So that's why he's got the one with the shorts back. But it is a pretty sad story for Superman. I mean, he is now alone. For the time being, his family is gone for the time being. Supergirl is going off in space. I mean, and the art by Jason Fabok is flawless. I mean, just look at this. This is, honoring Kandor as well, with the Justice League showing up. Probably the best scene is this one. With Clark all alone in John's room. Just beautiful, sort of. So yeah, it's a sad story for Superman in a way, but it's a great, happy story for Supergirl, because she took charge. She wasn't, behind Superman. throughout the whole series, since Supergirl showed up in this series, Superman has been taking charge, has been taking the lead, leaving Supergirl behind. And in this one, she stepped up and decided what she wanted to do, which was, sentence uh, Ragnar Zor to the Phantom Zone and bring him to justice, Kryptonian justice. Even though he left Superman without the answers that he wanted to know, uh, which now Supergirl took it upon herself to search for those answers. So I really really enjoyed this story, this issue, um, and so I'm looking forward to seeing all of these other things start to play out. Hopefully, we'll see Lois and John back soon enough. But it does give Bendis a good chance, a good opportunity to really focus first and foremost on Superman before he brings in, you know, Lois and John back and moves forward with the whole family thing. It's just a good way to focus on the character and then, you know, build his build it up, build up, and when he feels like he build up everything else, he sort of brought it down a bit. Like he didn't blow it up, but he brought things down to be built up back again. And that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, great issue. Great mini series. I think it covered the bases, like I said, to where Vince is going to take his run. I also picked up Catwoman. Now, if you picked up Catwoman, you notice that they actually changed the paper. I think that this is going to the stock they're using now. They're using this book will be the one they will be using going forward. Anyways, Catwoman. So I did not pick up Batman number 50. Got a little too much. When I'm kind of not wanting to spend too much money on comics right now. But this one was on the books that I wanted to pick up simply because it's Joel Jones and Lara Alder doing the work. It was not issue. I think it's sort of just like not does what a number one should do, which is set up, the the series, but it's also like a setup for the first arc. Uh, so you don't necessarily have get a full story, you just like get like part of a story which involves uh, this woman uh, who is the wife of the governor of this, the mayor, I think, of the town where Catwoman is, which I'm not sure if it's, it looks like it's in Mexico. I'm not exactly sure where the location is. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. At least to me, it doesn't really matter much. So there's like this fake Catwoman that shows up, or this woman that dressed up as Catwoman. Uh, uh, so they suspect Selina Kyle, of course, because she is Catwoman. This fake Catwoman actually shot at two cops. We got some really great sequences, like in this page. This is like really great sequences, wonderful stuff. Uh, and we actually learned that this woman's not what she seems that she is. We just went through something so terrible. I mean, this is definitely not your typical bad guy. No, this is somewhat awful. She's kind of shady, um, and she seems to be running this sort of fake Catwoman thing. She actually gets her costume from Alfred, and then we find out that the Catwoman that she discovers that she's chasing right here is not the only imposter, but you know, a whole bunch of them. So I don't know. I mean, I like the story, but it's kind of like hard to explain. Simply put, there's a bunch of copycat Catwoman that are being run by some shady woman. It's going through some terrible things, and that's it. I mean, I actually might pick up the next issue just to find out where it goes, but it's kind of like a bumpy ride. I mean, it does do a lot of setup, but um, as a reader, I didn't feel too satisfied with it because it's just setup. It's not like a full story with, at least not in a sense where you actually do have you know a full story that you got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you think, okay, it's just like part of the much larger stuff, like not even like a chapter or like a few paragraphs, if you will. I don't know. Like the well enough, Joel Jones, and the art alone is the art alone is a good selling point, but as a writer, I think Joel really needs to keep on working on it, because it just doesn't just introduces characters, but it's not what I feel like a really full story. I mean, there's just doesn't feel like there's a really full story here to really able to explain clearly, or a plot. Uh, well, anyways, I don't want to ramble on. And of course, the latest issue of Paper Girls issue 22. So, I mean, the book, sort of this arc, and this issue sort of keeps, we're introduced to this character. Um, Sort of things are coming, like I said, last issue. A lot of the stuff from earlier in the series is now being caught up in this arc, as they are in the time from where the original invaders from the future showed up way back in issue 1 in the first arc. And so certain things seem to resonate from earlier, and from all of those other arcs, all those other adventures seem to sort of being called back. Like, a lot of stuff is being called back. It almost seems, and for example, that whole, remember Matt and KJ sort of kissing. We sort of start to get this sort of conversation that was starting, but it was interrupted, when apparently a different version of Mac is calling them through the walkie-talkie. So again, very complicated to explain, because again, it's sort of like part of a much larger story, but that, just simply put, I think by the end of this arc we might get a few answers as to this whole crazy adventure, but I think there's gonna be a lot more questions left. I even feel like uh, I don't know that we're getting close to the end because a lot of stuff from earlier on is being brought in here. Uh, so I really don't know where it's going. It does feel like a climax is coming into this issue, into this arc, because now we get like the reference to the Cape Girl from 2 arcs ago and her baby. Somehow uh, these characters actually are named after them. So again, it's just really crazy. It's just a series that jumps all over. Few great adventures. Now we get into this sort of callback to the earlier stuff. And of course, it does set up more mysteries because so far we really haven't gotten any answers to all that stuff. We've just gotten a few adventures of the girl just jumping through time, but like there's no clear direction or no clear plot to what this series is supposed to be about. um, I would say so. It's always very hard for me to sort of try to talk about this book without doing what I'm doing right now, rambling, because it's a hard book to explain. And a comic or any book or film or any form of entertainment shouldn't be so hard to explain to people. And this is very hard to explain. It's enjoyable, but it's very hard to explain. So that's it. All of my books from this week. Next week, a Superman #1 comes out. Or is it actually coming? Yeah, so I think it's Superman #1 that comes out next week. So I'll be reviewing that. I got Elsewhere also showing up, so that's another book I really enjoy, and it's a lot easier to explain than Paper Girls. I mean, I think even Sagas is easier to explain than Paper Girls. Anyways, thank you for watching. Leave a like, leave comments. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. I will leave my Twitter handle below, so you can comment as well about the video, about stuff that I post. Sometimes I talk about comics. I talk about everything on Twitter. So, as always, until next time, keep smiling.